Here we are. We're back. Um, so we took a little bit of time off, and some things happened in the foosball area where there
Correct.
was some games. What the
Well,
most heartbreaking?
first of all, let's just address the reason we haven't uploaded is because my dad was on his deathbed for about a week and a
Oh,
half.
it's
So
unbelievable.
yeah,
It's unbelievable. I'm gonna tell you something. I had the streptolaryngitis, flu, pneumonia, COVID-19
that's what the
all
doctor said.
rolled into one. I coughed and sneezed so hard that I have a hairline fracture in my ribs, and but it's a apparently what I found out is that this is a common thing amongst older women. So um the hairline, the coughing and sneezing causing the fracture is it's commonplace amongst old women in the Golden Girls era. So I got that going for me,
Perfect.
which is nice. It's but I'm battling through. Hey, look it. I am playing through. I am
Yes.
like Bo Nix.
There you
Uh
go.
it came out that he played with fractured ribs. And I'm just like him. I am
So essentially,
absolutely
what you're saying is you are the
just
greatest
like him.
athlete ever.
Yes,
Okay.
I am like Byron Leftwich with a fractured ankle being carried by his offensive lineman in 2 minute drill at Marshall. And
Perfect.
it's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm
Yeah.
doing here. If I
Uh,
cough in the middle of
cheers.
this, and
Cheers to that.
you
We
know,
made it through.
it's
God
unbelievable.
bless.
It's something else. On top of it, we had the heartbreak of the Lions.
Yeah.
And
Brutal.
you know what? Here's the thing. I just gonna come right out and say it. Like I said, the last show, look, Washington was no joke, right? I mean, they won 12 games in regular season. They won the game before that in Tampa. Jaden Daniels has proven that he is the real deal. And maybe the Bears once again made a huge mistake.
Mm.
Um, you know, so and 18 dudes on the injured reserve from defense throughout the year.
Yep.
Yeah, we were getting some guys back on whatever, but no excuses or whatever. Washington played a hell of a game, and it is what it is. And so on. But you know, uh, the other games that happened, I mean, eventually what we ended up with what nobody in the world other than Taylor Swift fans and people that were born into Chiefs Kingdom that wanted, and
Yeah.
that is another a Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl. And
Brutal.
so here we are.
Brutal, man. Yeah, I mean, before we talk about this awful matchup that we've got for the Lombardi Trophy, that Lions loss sucked, and you guys can call me out, and I'll sit here and I'll take it because on that last episode, I made the bold claim that we were going to win by a lot and have Hendon Hooker in at halftime, and that
You
we
had
were going to
Teddy
rout
Two
him.
Gloves.
Yeah, listen, I'm man enough. I'll sit here. I'll admit it. I was wrong. I could have been any more wrong. I accept any criticism thrown at me. I deserve it, But that sucked, man. It really felt like this was our year, at home, 1 seed, rookie quarterback, home field advantage, chip on our shoulder from last year. I mean, it hurt, And then, of course, the other games went kind of how we all expected them to go a little bit, you know. Obviously, Baltimore Buffalo was a fantastic game. Everybody's been giving Mark Andrews a hard time, but that team, I mean, they made mistakes throughout the game. He had the worst mistake at the worst time. But
Yeah.
Lamar threw 2 interceptions. Justice Hill fumbled also. So there was that. And obviously Josh Allen, in my opinion, is the greatest quarterback in the league today. So there's that going for you. And then obviously you switch over to these other divisional games. Kansas City, Houston. We all saw that one coming. Um, and then Rams Eagles. I mean, the Rams put up a fight just like we thought we thought they would. The Rams were that team that everybody sat there and said, well, you don't want to play them, but we don't see them going anywhere. And I mean, that was a little too close for comfort. I think without that snow, Stafford can pull off that comeback, as we know he's done so many times. But
And now he said
um,
that he's got a decision to make. So,
and that's the thing
you know,
too. We'll see where
it might be an
Stafford
end of an era.
goes. Yeah, could be. But so that was the divisional. Took us to the this past weekend here, where of course Philly handled Washington. I thought it would be a lot closer. I did think Philly was going to win, but they handled them. And then Kansas City once again defeating Josh Allen and Buffalo in the playoffs. That makes Josh Allen and Buffalo now 0-4 against Mahomes Chiefs. Brutal, brutal, man.
You look at, you know, with it is brutal, and everybody's talking about it. I mean, the referees. I mean, here's the thing, like it was the catch that wasn't a catch. I don't know. I mean, one way
They
or
hit the
the other,
ground.
whatever. The referee that made the call wasn't in position, and all this other kind of stuff. The ball did touch the ground. Did he have it pinned to him? Whatever. That one is at least having a conversation about, right? The
Mhm.
first down was a first down. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, there's, I mean, it's silliness to me. You've got, everybody. I mean, even announcers and
yeah,
your official uh guest expert or
yeah.
whoever it is, that's in these games now or whatever, was sitting there saying, yeah, that's a first down to me.
Mhm.
I mean, it's, and then the catch or the drop at the end of the game, there's a flag, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden, everybody's, oh, what's the flag? Let's see what the flag is. Say, oh no, it's picked up. The radio call was the same thing. They were
yeah,
like, there's a flag on the play,
yeah.
and then the
So
referees walked over and picked it up,
picked it up.
and
Yeah,
it was like, well, why is there? Did it fall out of your pocket? And you're like, oh crap,
yeah. And
or
then
oh
that
wait,
that's my biggest problem. So Kevin Harlan was doing the call for the radio, and
yeah,
Kevin Harlan saw the flag, and Jim Nance was doing the play by play on TV. And they both at the same time, at the second that the ball hit the ground, they both said, "Hold on, we got a flag." And it wasn't
the
until Tony
graphic on the
Romo,
screen had
yeah,
flag up there.
the graphic had the flag up there. It wasn't until Tony Romo said there's no flag, and then they took the graphic away. So I watching it on TV, and then I listened back to the radio clip with Kevin Harlan has been all over the place. But when I was watching it live, Jim Nance said, "We hold on, we got a flag." And within about 5 seconds, Tony Romo said, "No, there's no flag." And then after he said that, the graphic changed, and then the game went on. And and so it's. I
Right.
mean, what do we
It's
like?
almost like they threw the flag,
Mhm.
thinking he's going to catch this anyway,
Which,
right?
by the way, that is one of the most unbelievable plays by Josh Allen. I mean, he's got three dudes in his face running for his life off his back
Barely even
foot
had time
and
to catch the snap.
still puts the ball in a position to make a play. And
Yeah.
Kincaid, even getting his hands on that ball, running in the complete opposite direction at full speed, having to completely turn around and stop his momentum and get back to that ball and still getting his hands on it. I mean, that both of those guys gave everything they had to that play. So, you know, sidebar just to sit there and be like, "Oh, Kincaid should have caught it." Blah, blah, blah. Listen, they did everything
But
they could have.
yeah, I mean, but ultimately, what comes down to is the referees were like, well, he's going to catch this, so then it's going to be a flag, and we're going to be like, decline the penalty or whatever. But then they realize he dropped the ball, and they're like, well, shit,
Let's pick it up.
we
Yeah.
we, we better pick this flag up, because now this is going to be a problem. It's ridiculous, and I just went, like, I saw a thing, and we sit there and say, oh, sour grapes or
Mhm.
whatever. I mean, numbers don't lie. I mean, numbers don't lie. And it's not like it's just a few people, talking. It's not like Lions fans complaining about the Packers getting calls.
Right.
It's not like, Eagles fans complaining about Cowboys getting calls
Right.
or whatever. I mean, this is everybody in the entire country. This is
Correct.
everybody across all sports. This is, I mean, announcers,
Dude, and it's
that are
gotten so
supposed to be biased,
yes.
unbiased, saying the same things and everything else. Like, so this is, I mean, so
And it's gotten even so bad that for those of you who don't know, I'm a big WWE fan myself, and I was watching Monday Night Raw last night, and even Michael Cole, the ring announcer or the play-by-play announcer for Monday Night Raw, there was a tag match where the Judgment Day was cheating a little bit, as they're heels, that's what they do. And even Michael Cole was like, they are the Kansas City Chiefs of WWE. Like it's crossed all platforms.
it's humorous is what it
Yeah.
is. And it's to the point to where it was, okay, so let's look at the last 11 playoff games that the Chiefs have been in.
Yes.
The Chiefs have been called for 36 penalties in 11 games. Their
Unbelievable.
opponents, 66 penalties. Okay. Um, in the last 11 playoff games, how many times have the Chiefs been called for roughing the passer? Um, 11 games, one time they've roughed the passer with these quarterback rules.
Mm-hmm.
One time in
Mm-hmm.
11 games,
Mm-hmm.
11 playoff games. Their opponents, 7 times. And I don't have it here, but I would venture to say at least 4 of those were on third downs that would
Yep.
have turned the possession over and they ended up getting a first down. But I don't know that for sure. But I mean we all
It's
we
not
all
ridiculous to say that. It's not a ridiculous claim.
and then defensive pass interference, right?
Mm.
Or defensive holding. The Chiefs have been penalized 3 times for that in the last 11 games. And they have been the beneficiary of 11 of those. And we know that one of the most egregious ones was when it was 35-35 in the Super Bowl against these Philadelphia Eagles. And it was the most phantom defensive holding or pass interference in that there was. And, so, this is why everybody's irritated with it. Not only that, because you got we have to we see it blatantly obvious
Right.
all the
It's clear
time.
as
Everybody
day.
says, "Oh, the Patriots and this everything." Look,
No.
at Tom Brady used to get rocked.
Got his shit rocked.
They were just better. They were just
Correct.
absolutely better. I look at Pat Mahomes is good. I'm going to tell you something. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all these guys Tom Brady was head and shoulders. I mean, Peyton Manning was there, but
Yeah.
I mean, Tom Brady was head and shoulders above everybody else in the league for a very, very
Long
long
time.
time.
Yep.
And they had dudes that were just automatic in their system and stuff like that or whatever. Like it got to the point to where it's like, yeah, you'd be irritated that you saw the Patriots 2 and 3 and 4 times or whatever. Then it was like, I kind of respect these guys.
Yeah.
Every time you see the Chiefs, it's just more and more and more hatred. And now, of course, I mean, you got people sitting there saying, like Belichick and stuff like that. Like Taylor Swift comes out on the screen, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
I
and
mean,
that's
like, what are we doing with this? Like,
that's
it's
the
the
thing
most obnoxious
too.
thing.
That's the thing too, right? I mean, and you brought up a good point talking, last time we saw a dynasty in the NFL, obviously the Patriots. You could mention maybe the Pete Carroll Seahawks, Legion of Boom, whatever. But the Patriots, yeah, it was annoying seeing the same team always in it, right? But the Patriots were just flat out beating teams.
Yeah,
The Chiefs, and we saw this stat, it floated around all year. The
they
Chiefs
weren't. The
are the
Patriots weren't doing it by way of the penalty.
correct. And not only that, but the Chiefs were flat out beating teams and scoring points. I saw a stat, probably about midway through the year that kept being brought up as the year went on.
That's what you're talking about. Yeah.
But that the Chiefs, so there were the last 3 teams that failed to score 30 plus points in a game, only won 3 games in a season. The Chiefs won 15 games failing to score 30 plus points in the regular
Oh, and I
season.
think that when there was like 12 games into the season or something, I think it was they did a stat that said, um, what would teams' records be if one score games were reversed?
Mm-hmm.
And the Chiefs at that time, I think were like 11-0
Yeah.
or 11-1 or something like that, and they would have been like 2-9.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's
And
like,
listen,
yeah,
obviously
they're
you
winning
can.
games, whatever. But when you have the penalties that
Mhm.
happen in the key moments like that affect all these one score games and stuff all
Exactly.
throughout the entire season, all
Exactly.
throughout the playoffs. I mean, we just looked at the numbers. I mean,
Yeah.
you're trying to
Exactly.
tell me that they are playing that much more sound and fundamental than every other team in the league in the playoffs. You're playing against good teams in the
Exactly. That's what I'm
playoffs.
saying.
You're
And
not playing against sloppy teams. You're not playing against the
right.
Bears or the Panthers.
Right. Right. And and I'm glad you brought that up because that was exactly what I was about to say is that um again, like with the Patriots just flat out beating teams, right? And we can, you mentioned flipping one score games, right? You can do that with anything. You can do, oh, if they would have missed that field goal, they would have lost. Like you can do that, whatever. Okay. Well, the Chiefs only were in a position to kick that field goal because of a bad call that put them into field goal range. That's
Extended
the
a drive on
difference. That
a third
exactly,
down DPI or something
exactly.
like that,
That's
or
the
roughing the
difference.
passer.
Right. Because you can do this with any game in any sport ever. Oh, if only they didn't get that first down. Yes, that's literally the game. But the difference is it seems that there is always a penalty that puts them into a position to make a game-winning score. And so it's frustrating, man, because like, yes, the Patriots dynasty was annoying. It was like I'm sick of seeing Brady and the Patriots in the Super Bowl every year. But they weren't getting there because of some bad calls that the whole entire country and worldwide was talking about. They were
They were
getting there
getting there
because they
because
were just
nobody could
flat out
stop them.
better.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
So
Tom Brady had the ball at the end of the game. You just couldn't stop him. And it
right.
was
And there
frustrating
yeah.
because you couldn't stop him, but he wasn't. They weren't extending drives on penalties. At least to my recollection. I don't have the numbers in front of me or whatever, but
But again,
I could be wrong or
we
whatever.
lived it. We lived it,
You know,
and we don't remember this sort of outbreak from the whole entire country.
but anyway, so
So
yeah,
we're
so you
ending up
get
with this Super Bowl here, Chiefs Eagles. We've already seen it, right? It'll probably
Chiefs
go
Eagles.
very similar to how it went the last time. It'll probably be a close game. It'll probably come down to a drive. Chiefs will get
We're
the
gonna
ball
see
last,
87
and
tush pushes.
yeah, we're gonna see a bunch of
Hopefully,
tush
Saquon
pushes.
Barkley has a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not really excited for it. I don't really care all that much. A game and
Well,
and
you
and
said you weren't watching it, so you can't
yeah,
you can't you can't watch it now.
yeah. Well,
You
okay,
can't go.
so
It was on the social medias.
correct.
You said
Yes,
that
I
you
gave you a list of five
or you
things.
can watch it, but you have to live stream you doing shots of Malort while you're watching it. Is
No
that something that we want?
chance.
Can we get likes, comments if we need
All
a
right.
Jake live stream watching the Super Bowl doing shots of Malort? Actually, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. This is on the fly. This is what we're doing right now. We're gonna come up with bingo squares for uh for the Super Bowl. Every time Taylor Swift is on TV, you got to do a shot of Malort.
Oh
Every
God.
time that there's a roughing the passer or a defensive pass interference that goes in the Chiefs' favor, you got to do a shot of Malort.
I don't want to. I
And we're
don't.
gonna live stream, and
Okay.
it's gonna be good times.
So
And
for
so
those
that's
of
what we're
you
gonna do.
for those of you who don't know, Malort, it's alcohol, right? It's a liquor. It's very very
It's a,
very
it's
disgusting,
Yeah,
and
it
it
was
it
it was the only liquor that was allowed to continue through prohibition
correct
because it killed parasites in your body.
correct, and the
It's a
taste
true
I
fact.
can the taste. If I could describe a taste of Malort, it would be a mixture of like dirt, pennies, and like
Well,
ass.
if you wiped your ass with grass clippings that have been sitting outside rotting for a year and a half or something along those lines, and
That's
then
that's
and
where
then
you get
and then
Malort.
tasted the shot.
And I
Yes.
also want to let everybody know here that
Yeah.
Malort is a Chicago thing. It's a very Chicago type thing.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, if you guys follow us on TikTok, I posted a top five list the other day of top five things I'd rather do than watch the Super Bowl. Taking consecutive shots of Malort was on that list, as well as retaking high school algebra, going to the DMV, sitting in rush hour traffic, stuff like that. Everything that the whole world hates to do, I think would be more enjoyable than watching this game. But if while we're on the topic, and this is going to be real quick because it's like I said, it's been a couple of weeks.
We
Um,
derailed, but
we
anyway.
have, but it's okay. This is all part of it. But real quickly, and let's make it quick, since we haven't been able to talk about it. Ohio State 2025 national champions. I always knew it. If you guys remember the first episode of Liberty Sports, we did our picks, and I said Ohio State before the Tennessee game. This was fresh off of the Michigan loss. I knew we could do it. Ryan Day, I apologize for any bad thing I've said about you within that time period from the Michigan game to the Tennessee game. You are our guy, right? So yeah, guys, I had a big elaborate plan for this, right? I wanted to make this bigger than what it was, but the stars didn't align as far as of what I wanted to do. But you guys know I'm a big Buckeye. We did it, and I'm very proud of it. So just real quickly, Dad, as a Notre Dame guy yourself, and Notre Dame is a special place in my heart also. Let's just a quick recap our thoughts on the college football national championship.
I mean, look, I mean, Ohio State was better team. I said it right off. I thought the Tennessee matchup was going to give them a problem because of coming off of what they did. They weren't able to move the ball and everything else, which I thought was weird with the best receiving cores and stuff like that. I thought, well, maybe something's wrong here, whatever. Going against Tennessee, I thought maybe, but then when they played the way that they did against Tennessee, I said, if this is a new team, this is the team that we thought they were going to be. There's nobody going to beat them. Look, they're the best team. They were the best team that was there. Notre Dame had a great season, great run. They had the one hiccup against Northern Illinois, whatever, big deal. It happened in week 2, and they recovered from that and put together an incredible run. Great, great group of guys. You know, and they came back. They made it. I mean,
They did.
it was a one possession game
Yeah.
until they unfortunately put poor Christian Gray one on one with Jeremiah Smith
Listen,
out
you could
there
have
on
put
the
any
edge. And
corner one-on-one with Smith that was going
yeah,
to happen. I mean,
I
Smith is
mean
that good.
they didn't think that they were going to throw the long. I mean, whatever, but and they did it and whatever, and then they won the game. Look, Ohio State clearly you run the gauntlet. Number one, you beat Penn State
Mhm.
in the regular season. You
Yep.
beat Indiana in the regular season. You run through Tennessee. You
Mhm.
run through Texas. You run through who was the other one that they beat along the way?
Tennessee. Well,
Um,
Tennessee, Texas, and then we beat Oregon
Oregon and then Notre
and
Dame.
then Notre Dame. And yeah, and so with that being said, out of the top 10 teams in the AP poll, the only team that Ohio State did not beat was Georgia, and that's because they didn't play.
Right.
So they played every other team in the top 10 AP poll, and they beat all of them.
I mean, it's there's nothing there's been, and I will say this too with them doing that now. Yeah, they're the first team to win the 14 playoff, first team to win the 12-team playoff. But here's the other part of it too. They are now the only team that has won a national championship in the poll era,
Mm-hmm.
won a BCS national championship, won a 14 playoff national championship,
And a 12.
and has won a 12-team national championship.
Yeah.
And here's Ryan Day, and
Yeah.
hats off to him. I mean, he could have folded like
Yep.
everybody in the world thought that he was going to after that horrible loss to a bad Michigan team,
Mm-hmm.
and it came back,
Yeah.
came back,
He he
and
he
won it
he
all.
answered. He answered the way that he absolutely needed to
Yeah.
when his back
And
was
in
against the
emphatic
wall.
fashion too. I mean, it
Yes.
wasn't like, I mean, the 11-point win against Notre Dame was the closest game that they had in the
and
playoffs,
and a
which
lot of
is
those and
ridiculous.
I'm not taking anything away from Notre Dame. I think they're a fantastic team, especially this year, and I think they're going to be a problem for a lot of teams for years to come under Freeman. But a lot of those points were garbage at the end of the game. I mean, it was a 3 possession game for most of that game. But
Well, hold on, and it
well,
wasn't.
they
It
scored
was in the
late.
third
They scored
quarter. They're
late.
coming back. I mean, it
Yeah,
wasn't
but
like
it was listen, it
prevent
was
in the third quarter. I mean, come on. Anyway,
yes, of course, but but again, Ryan Day,
you got
his back
Great
was
House out
against the
there
wall.
making one-handed catches with dudes draped all over him. You telling me that's
Great House is
garbage?
unbelievable. Great House is an unbelievable athlete. I'll tell you that.
Riley
Um,
Leonard,
Riley
just
Leonard, listen,
13 plays, 90 yards, just
he, he
draw
had
Riley Leonard up the middle. Like, I mean, he
he was
was
like to die on that
quarterback.
first
He,
possession, but he got it done and got in the
he
end
was
zone
like
himself
Scott
too.
Sterling.
He
Give
was
him
he
the
was this guy's
Riley
yeah,
Leonard.
yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And that's the thing too. Obviously everybody talks about okay, we got the draft coming up, Shador and Cam Ward and all these dudes. These NFL scouts better start taking a look at Will Howard and Riley Leonard because those two had an unbelievable year that nobody's talking about. Um, but back to Ryan Day, obviously his back was against the wall and he had one way to respond and he did it. So hats off to him. He did outstanding. We got an that's the end of the college football season. A lot's going to change going forward. We got our first taste of a 12-team playoff and things of that nature. But yeah, man, it was all around. It was fun. It was entertaining, and now we kind of can see what we're looking forward to. Obviously, the committee is going to make some changes with seating, things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it was great. And while we're on the topic of coaches and turnarounds and whatever, let's transition here now into the NFL and the new coach signings that we've got, the new coach hirings that have happened across the league as of today. Um, Where do you want to start, Dad? We got a
Well,
lot
I
of new
mean,
hires.
let's start with the Lions, right?
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
yeah,
our Lions,
yeah,
it was unfortunate end of the season that we thought for sure was going to end with us in our first Super Bowl, and that the
mhm,
entire country and the world wanted Bills Lions in the
yep,
Super Bowl, but that was not meant to be. Again, hats off to Washington and Jaden Daniels. They
yeah,
they they played incredibly well. But yeah, there it is. Now all of a sudden, boom, Ben Johnson's gone.
yep,
He's to the Bears, and he not only that, but he takes Antoine Randall L, and
yeah.
wide
Our
receiver
receiver
coach,
coach.
and
Yep.
JT Barrett, quarterbacks coach with him
Yeah.
too. And there's other talks about you know uh, maybe some other players or coaches and coaching staff that could move as well too with him. But I mean, Ben Johnson showed out for the Bears when the Lions played him. He was doing
Yeah.
the fake
The
stumble
fake stumble and yeah.
thing and all this other kind of stuff, and now he's like, oh, this is the greatest place to be. Of course,
Yeah.
it's good. I mean, yeah.
Of
Look at
course.
look at. Here's the thing. Everybody wants to be a head coach, right? That's why you're in this profession, and you get an opportunity. I mean, look, Lions got a bonus year from the guy,
Yep.
right? He should have taken jobs last year, and he
Yeah.
didn't. He gave us a bonus year. Didn't turn out the way that we wanted it to, but you know what? He's not
It's the
going to
name of the
pass
game.
up another opportunity, because then you're labeled the guy that passes him up. So Lions fans can't be mad at the guy. Yeah, he goes to the Bears and he takes other people with him. But what are you going to do? Like, you go where the jobs are,
Yeah.
and that's what he did. Um, so you know, I can't say best of luck to him. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
still
can't.
respect
Yeah.
what he did here,
Yeah.
and everything else. I'm not going to wish ill of the guy, but
No.
I do want us to beat the Bears twice a year, because I want us to beat the Bears twice a year every year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And in fact, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he mentioned a very similar, take on it on the St. Brown podcast. He mentioned, he was like, listen, he's like, I'll always love you. You've done a great job with us. You're a good guy and all, but and I'm not paraphrasing. He said, "We're gonna fuck you up twice a year." That's what he said. Those were his exact words on the podcast. And then Ben Johnson's response was very similar, with a lot of vulgar language there. But it's good. I like it because for the long time the Bears have kind of been irrelevant in the North for a while. So I like the challenge this is bringing us. Obviously, Dan Campbell, you don't want to mess with him, right? Dan Campbell's not. He's not going to care, right? He's going to go into Chicago. He's going to punch you in the mouth, and we're still going to beat Chicago twice a year. But uh, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I think Ben Johnson's a great hire if you're Chicago, but you got to understand. I mean, it's become personal now, and I don't think our guys led by Dan Campbell are going to forget that.
And that was the thing, right? Like, you think about it, you're like, okay, we beat the Bears and all this kind of stuff, and the Bears are down and everything else. So you go in there, you're a little bit lax, and you think that maybe, okay, well, the Bears can sneak one or two wins from the Lions, because we're going in there kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, it's not anymore.
Nope.
No, no, no. Now
Absolutely not.
those are the top two games on the schedule, even over the Packers and the Vikings at this point in time. Those
Absolutely.
are games 1A and 1B
Yep.
that the focus is on, and so they took that opportunity, and it's now there's no overlooking those games, and,
Yeah.
and they're gonna be fun. They're gonna be fun.
They
It'll
are
be
going to be fun.
interesting to see, because what is Ben Johnson going to be able to do against the Lions when it's I saw the clip of the water boy when the coach with his green notebook, the Fonz, and he had his green notebook, and he was like, and when he took the other job and the guy came in and stole it or whatever. um
Yeah.
that's the thing, right?
It
Like,
is. Yeah. It's
what is Ben
identical.
Johnson going to do against us? Because
Yeah.
we're in the room
Yeah.
with him as he's coming
Yeah.
up with all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? So it'll be fun, but going to the other side of the ball,
Yeah.
then you lose Aaron Glenn,
Yeah.
right?
Which
And
we knew this was going to happen. Win or lose this year, we knew we were losing them both. And we
and
knew that. And I think that almost is a good thing for us. Because listen, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes knew, however this year turned out, they were both gone. The players knew it. Everybody knew it. So I think that helps us because we were able to prepare for that reality of it.
Right. I mean, and I look at it too, and I almost think that I mean the case can be made that Aaron Glenn was a more viable. I mean, every Ben Johnson got all the press and everything else because of his flash on the offense and the creativity and all
Right.
this other kind of fun stuff or whatever. But right alongside of when all that was going on, Aaron Glenn was dealing with. I mean, you and I were next man up on that
That's what I'm
defense.
saying, man.
You know what I'm saying? And what he did to the Vikings that last game of the year, um, it yes, they had a bad game against Washington, but Washington was one of the top offenses in the
No,
league.
they were. And again,
And
people forget,
and
like you said
again,
earlier.
I said it the last time too. Jaden Daniels is a special dude. Um, but not only that, I mean, we have 5 turnovers,
Well,
and
and not
one of them was a pick six with the
correct.
points and everything else. So
Right.
Aaron Glenn, what he did to keep us in the position to be able to win
Yep.
15 games with what was going on that defensive side of the ball,
Exactly.
to
Exactly.
me, uh, I would say that he was more the viable
Yes.
option as a coach than Ben Johnson, and he's going to the Jets, and poor Aaron Glenn. I mean, he played there. He's going
Yeah.
going back and everything else, and the Jets are a mess, and
Yeah.
whatever. Um, so that's one where you can say best of luck to you. Um, yeah,
Right. And
because it's over.
he held his press conference yesterday, and he listen, he took a great approach. Obviously, he's kind of trying to take a Dan Campbell approach of, look, we're gonna punch you in the mouth. We're built for this. You aren't ready, whatever. Whereas Ben Johnson took more of a, friendly, whatever, gooberish type approach, which he's not the most intimidating man, but he's a mastermind. But no, I think listen, I think if Aaron Glenn's going to be successful in New York, they got to figure out how they're going to move on from this Aaron Rodgers fiasco that's going on there. I mean, listen, Aaron Rodgers is just a cancer to the organization. And listen, I know people are going to say, "Oh, well, you're a Lions fan, so you've always hated Aaron Rodgers." Correct? Yes, I have. However, I mean, look at the facts, man. He's caused an issue ever since he stepped foot in New York. He got Robert Saleh fired, and it wasn't even his fault. Obviously he never saw eye to eye with the GM, and then he brought Devontae Adams there just for them to win 2 games down the stretch. And so Aaron Glenn's got a lot he's got to deal with here, and he's got to make some changes. He's got to figure out what he's going to do here. I think that obviously we've seen these guys be successful in Detroit, so I don't see how they can't find some simmer of success elsewhere. But with that being said, now like Aaron Glenn overcame injuries in Detroit, right? So we know that the guy can face adversity, and he can overcome that type of thing, because most of the injuries in Detroit were on defense. So we know that he's built for adversity and next man up, and he's always got a backup plan. So that's good, right? Because if you do move on from Aaron Rodgers, we've seen that Glenn has a backup plan, and so if I'm going to be honest with you, I think that Glenn has more success in New York than Ben does in Chicago.
I mean, look, and that's I get it because again, like I said, what he did in Detroit with the injuries and everything is unbelievable. But I will say, I mean, Ben Johnson does. I mean, I think Jaden Daniels is much better than Caleb Williams. Okay,
Of course,
but whatever. I mean, Caleb Williams has talent.
of
He's
course,
athletic. He's got a strong arm. Everything
yeah,
else. Does he have it like between here to be able to be the guy? I don't know. He hasn't proven it to me. I
right.
mean, but he's got talent. I mean, he's got DJ Moore. He's got Rome Duze.
Yep.
Uh, they're talking. They might be able to draft Ashton Genty.
He's
Uh,
also got Keenan
you
Allen too.
yeah. So I mean, there's a Cole Komet.
Yeah.
There's
We
talent
can
on
go
that
on and on and
team on
on.
the
Yep.
offensive side of the ball. So so is he going to be able to utilize that and everything else? And it's Ben Johnson. But the problem is, here's the thing, like it's a big difference when that's all you're focusing on, and
Correct.
then you go from that to now you're the head coach. Now you have to You have to oversee the defense. You have to
Yep.
oversee the offense. You have to oversee special teams. You have to oversee clock management. You have to I mean, that's why we, see a lot of things that, a lot of times, coordinators go into positions of head coach. I mean, if we don't have to
Mhm.
go very far
No,
as
yeah.
a Lions fan, with Matt Patricia,
Yeah.
who was very successful as a coordinator with the
Hmm.
Patriots, and it was the worst
Garbage.
head coach in the history of football. But again, it's next man up with Detroit. I mean, we got, John Morton, who was
Yeah.
a member of the Lions in 2022, and then was passing game coordinator with the Broncos, and he's
Yep.
coming back to be the OC, and you know from within.
Kelvin
Let's
Shepherd.
move up Kelvin Shepherd, and
Yep.
the thing about Kelvin Shepherd, which is awesome, which I'm excited about, is Aaron Glenn had said over and over and over and over again for years he has been grooming Kelvin
Yep.
Shepherd to be his replacement.
Yeah.
So so I love that part of it. John
Absolutely.
Morton remains to be seen. It
But
remains to be
to
seen.
your point, they're
But
correct.
Kelvin Shepherd, I'm super happy about.
Oh yeah, Kelvin Shepherd was an outstanding decision there. And then you talk about Morton, right? Like we don't know much about the guy, right? I don't know much about him. I don't know much about his past and what he's capable of. But at the same time, we've been saying this all week. We trust Brad Holmes, right? I mean, Brad Holmes has done nothing but make exceptional decisions within this organization. And he's been right. I mean, all of his draft picks have hit. He hasn't had a single bust picking, draft picks, signings,
And
coaches,
we get two more.
and we get two more, right? So things of that nature. Listen, I, I think that overall we are in a great position with who's running this organization right now. And listen, Sheila's doing an outstanding job just being like, Brad,
Amazing.
get us there,
Amazing.
you
I
know?
love it. I do. I love it. I
Yeah.
love. I have confidence in the front office and everything else.
Yes.
And also, I love the fact that now we're the hunters again,
Correct.
not the
Correct.
hunted.
Correct.
So I love that part of it too. So it'd be interesting to see.
And
But
correct. And that's
you
the
know,
thing too, real quickly. That's the thing too about losing that game to Washington. It sucks. It sucks real, real bad. It hurts very badly. But it almost hurts more than losing to San Francisco in that
oh, it
NFC
absolutely
championship
does.
game.
It
And so,
absolutely
but
does.
to me, in a very similar aspect of it, like we weren't supposed to beat San Francisco. We weren't even supposed to beat Tampa. We weren't even supposed to beat the Rams, right? It's starting to feel, at least to me, because it's very close to home, it's starting to feel very eerie, similar. Losing to Washington might have been the best thing that ever happened to us. Just like losing to Michigan was the best thing that happened to Ohio State. We're gonna play pissed off now. And I know those guys are fired up and we feel a little betrayed by some of the coaching staff and whatever. We're ready. I'm telling you right now, next year, you better look out.
And as it stands right now, we got a lot of cap space.
Absolutely. Yep.
Could end up with more. But yeah.
But yeah,
So
moving
um,
on.
moving on, we have to go on. This one I love.
I knew it
This
was
one
gonna happen because it's our team, man. We're gonna get passionate, but we'll make these short and sweet
we
here.
were
Moving on.
when we were getting ready to do this, we talked about we're gonna go heavy into baseball because
Yeah,
we're baseball. We're gonna
we
go, but
still
here we
will.
are. We're gonna do. But anyway, I got it. This one kills me. So the Cowboys gonna cowboy, right?
Always.
Um, Brian Schottenheimer from OC to head coach. We were talking about this offline before we did this. And I think the only reason why that happened was because they had just given all that money to Dak,
Right.
right? When you give all that money to Dak, you gotta go from within,
You can't
and you
afford to
gotta
do
go with the
else.
guy who's
Yeah.
comfortable and who wants Dak, right? Like you can't bring somebody in like a Ben Johnson
Right.
who's gonna want a different guy, right? You
Correct.
after all that, you can't do it, whatever. But the I'm sure
This is
everybody's seen it.
unbelievable.
Jerry Jones. I'm telling you, I don't know if it was Jerry Jones or Joe Biden or Ronald Reagan at the end of it with all the dementias and everything else, but we might want to test him. What was the quote he said? That, we asked about this whole thing that's going on with the
This is
coaching
verbatim, by the way.
verbatim. You can listen. The audio's out there. We're not going to put it up here, but whatever. But there's a very low percentage of this that is smiles and glory holes. A very low percentage. I mean, what does he say? What does he say?
Again, let me just say this again. This is word for word, verbatim,
Playing hurt, playing hurt. You
on
can't do it
record,
to me, Jerry.
verbatim on record. We're just quoting. We're
It was
listen.
literally a direct quote pulled from
That's
audio.
what I'm saying.
Smiles and glory holes.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I'm telling you, smiles and glory
I'm gonna
holes.
tell
So
you what.
there
Listen,
it is.
so
But
there's Dallas, right? I mean,
and then you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and even do anything better because you know what? Let's grab a guy who was on a high and bring him in and Matt Eberflus.
yeah,
It hurts me, Jerry. You're killing me here, like
yeah,
literally.
it's yeah.
I can't.
I mean, I think the great thing about Eberflus is he's very very aware of he's very situationally aware, right? Um, he's great with timeouts. He's great with game presence and understanding.
That's the
Um,
part.
you know,
You
so
know, that's the
that's
thing about it
sarcasm, by
was
the
like
way.
so they when we talked about going from coordinator to head
Yeah,
coach, and I mean they said, look, this guy's fantastic as a coordinator, but the whole clock management thing is beyond him, so he
yeah.
can't be a head coach. So let's just go ahead and bring him back to be. Let's let him be.
And
Let
that
him be
and and
coordinator.
and and that right there, we might end up seeing with Glenn and Johnson. But sometimes like we've seen this a million times. Sometimes coordinators don't always make great head coaches, and they're better off being back at coordinators. And we could see that with Eberflus. Listen, Dallas has the talent. They have the players. They just haven't been run properly.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
welcome to Jerry Jones, folks.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy. I mean, at what point does somebody step in and say, you
Listen,
know,
nothing's gonna change until he dies, and I hate to say it, and God bless him, but nothing's gonna change.
yeah,
He is who he is, and he's gonna continue to be who he is until he can't be.
right. Yeah, there it
So
is. I
there's
mean,
Dallas.
that's good. I'm going to tell you that God bless him for the
Yeah.
quote. Um, you know,
Moving on.
let's another let's go whack job the whack job. I'm sorry, but this Liam Cohen deal. I mean, Tampa Bay, the thing like and then now he's at Jacksonville and he's like
He's a dork.
I mean, whatever. Like
I
it's
mean, that's fine. But if
Jacksonville,
if listen, but if you're gonna be a dork and a goober, you better own it. And when you lose 6, 7 games, you better continue to be a dork and a goober, because if you're
right?
putting on this dorky goober to get the sympathy from the fans, I'm gonna tell you what, Jacksonville is a team and a city that hasn't been good in a long time, and they're sick of it. You know, and so you better
With Joey Lawrence, I mean, it's is he good?
Joey Lawrence. You mean Trevor Lawrence?
Oh, I mean, whoa. I mean, Trevor Lawrence. Like, is I mean, but
I mean, he was
his
great at Clemson.
he
That was
was great at
100 years
Clemson,
ago.
but like his numbers,
They're not
like
great, and he's
I
hurt
almost
all the
think that
time.
in I almost think that Bryce Young is trending upwards,
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
you
absolutely.
know,
Without a doubt. Without a
than
doubt.
than Lawrence. So
Absolutely.
you know, whatever. Pete Carroll, I thought we were done with him. Unfortunately, we're not. He's at the Raiders.
Listen, he's getting
The only
ready to
thing I can
start.
say,
He's
what's
getting
that?
ready to start his 50th season as a coach in football.
Yeah,
And
he's on it.
that's combining head coordinators, whatever. 50 seasons as a coach in football, from college all the way to the pros. He's what, 82, 83. I mean, what are we doing?
Something along those lines. He would still kick your ass, though.
He's a scrappy
Guarantee
little
you
motherfucker.
that would happen. Guarantee at least I know for sure he'd beat you in a foot race.
Oh,
Um,
he's short and choppy.
uh, but so that and then Vrabel,
Variable New
the
England.
situation,
Yeah,
the timing just is kind of off, with there, but it makes sense.
it does.
It does. It makes sense that the
It
guy
almost feels
he
to me like the Gerard Mayo hiring was just a gap, right? Like they needed some more time to negotiate some things, and they just needed to figure it all out. Um, because how do you fire a guy after one season? right? Like he was never the long-term goal.
Yeah, that's the part that I don't like. I mean, what's the guy supposed to do, right? Like,
Right. And Drake
um,
May is promising, right? He showed that he can
right.
be a very, very good quarterback in this league. But again, I mean, 1 year, what's a guy going to do with a rookie quarterback in 1 year? Win a Super Bowl? I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, it was like you flip over from the pretty boy. What is
Mac
Mac
Jones,
Jones, Mac Collins, Mac Smith, whatever. I mean, it
Big
could be
Mac.
anybody. Mac tonight.
I want a
Um,
Big Mac.
and I like Big Macs.
I take a
And
Big
then
Mac.
whatever. I think we'll see how that turns out or whatever.
Yeah.
But there it is. Let's get into the baseball. Let's talk about what's going on here in the latest free agent and trade rumors. The first that we already talked about. We talked about Soto. We
Yeah.
talked about what's going on there. So what is happening with Pete Alonso?
Right.
Is Pete Alonso going to is he gone? I mean, it doesn't look like he's coming back to the Mets. I mean, they said that there's reports that they're looking to trade for Spencer Torkelson
Which
because
to me
they
is an
realize that
interesting
they're going to have to.
trade because Torkelson spent a lot of last season down in AAA with Toledo. Um, he
And when
had
he
he
came
had an
back
off
up, I mean,
year.
he had a little bit of flashes, but he
He
still
did.
like he didn't revert back to what he
Listen,
was at the end of the prior
as
season.
as Tigers fans, we know a lot about Torque, right? And he's very inconsistent. Um, and then when you're in New York and you go from a guy like Alonso who's been all reliable for the longest time, it's an interesting decision to me.
And so here's the thing, like Torkelson has a lot of power, right? He's got pop. I
Yeah.
mean, he ended up with 20 something home runs. The not last season, the season before.
Yeah.
Really came on in the second half of the year. He's shown that he has power. The one thing I think that they're thinking is he's going to have a lot of protection in the lineup. With that Mets lineup,
Mhm.
which he didn't have here in Detroit. I mean, let's be honest. I mean,
No,
it
yeah.
was the bad news Bears out there for most of the season.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we're in the playoffs, and AJ Hinch has got us winning a
Who
playoff
let the
round.
Tigers get hot, baby?
So I mean, it was unbelievable. But
Yeah.
so yeah, so is he is the so they're sitting there saying that it doesn't look like that they're gonna re-sign Pete. Uh, I will never say no. There's always a possibility.
Right.
That's what Cohen says. Always a possibility, but it doesn't look good. It looks like
Y-
more than likely than not that he's going to end up in Toronto, which is kind of surprising to me
I
because
don't know though, because we talked about this last episode. Toronto's always in the conversation for every free agent ever, but they never land anybody. But I will say, out of all the free agents left, I mean, if there was a guy that would land in Toronto, it would be Alonzo, just because I feel like out of all the free agents that are left, Alonzo, and again, this is not Alonzo's had a fantastic career. He's a great player. We know this. I mean, nobody can argue. But out of all the free agents left, he's probably last on that list for who you want. You know what I mean? If you had to pick out of the guys, and again,
I mean Santander. I mean that's another guy who's in the mix for the Blue Jays. Max Scherzer's in the mix for the Blue Jays. Uh, you know,
again,
uh,
Scherzer. I mean, what year is he going into now? I mean, she's old.
he's a young guy. He's a whippersnapper. I think he's not
How
not quite
old?
40 yet. Uh, but yeah, so I don't know. But again, that's the thing. Like, so the Blue Jays, they're looks like Santander, looks like Pete Alonso. Also, you know, are they still in the mix for Bregman? The reports came out that
Yeah.
said that that Bregman was offered of the three teams. It was
Mhm.
it was we said Red Sox, Tigers,
Yep.
Blue Jays. I thought that he wanted to go to the Red Sox. I thought it made sense that he come to the Tigers. Um, and I thought the Blue Jays were whatever. But reports saying that Bregman wants a long term deal as he can get,
Yeah.
and that the Red Sox only offered him 4 years. Tigers
Right.
and Blue Jays reportedly
5.
offered him 5 year deals.
Yeah.
So maybe it's down to those two. I mean, what
Yeah,
happens?
and
Does that affect what the Blue Jays are? The whole thing with P. Alonso and the Blue Jays affect what happens with Bregman too?
yeah, no, I think it definitely does, right? But the thing to me, and obviously we're talking about, is Bregman. I mean, he spent X amount of years in Houston, right? He's been in this league a while. He's made a name for himself. Is he looking? And again, it's only a year, 4 to 5, right? But is he in a situation where he's looking to almost kind of just be a temporary, or is he looking to go to a team that he's going to retire with? And so to me, it's kind of like, okay, if you're looking for that long time, that long term deal, you're not going to go to Boston. But at the same token, to be able to retire a Red Sox, I mean, that's prestigious. Prestigiously, that's just, we talk teams in baseball that,
Well, I mean, but here comes the question, right? Like, so I mean, we talked about it like being Tiger fans and everything else, and when Scherzer was up for
yeah.
his max deal,
Mm,
no pun intended. Um, he came right out and he said, "Look, this is my time to sign the biggest deal that I'm ever going to be able to sign."
right.
And he said, "I'm going to go who gives me the biggest deal." And the Tigers offered him some, whatever
Yeah.
and everything. They had the opportunity to give him the biggest deal. They didn't do it, and then he went, and chose that. Um, is this Bregman's kind of not in that position right now, though?
No.
Although at this point in his career, do you try to get as much money as you possibly can, or do you say, "I won a World Series with the Astros that was tainted.
Let me
Do
get
I want to
one.
win a
Yeah.
World Series, and on my own where there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it?
Right.
Do you have a better chance of doing that with the Red Sox, or do you have a better chance of doing it with the Tigers? Because I mean, the Tigers were a playoff team last year. They won a
Yeah.
playoff. They won a
Yeah.
series. I mean,
They won a series. Yeah. And the Red Sox weren't
but everybody thinks that you have a better chance of winning a World Series with the Red Sox. But I mean, the
because you're
Tigers,
the Red
I mean, they're
Sox.
they're young and getting better.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't understand what Brian Presley's doing. I mean, you want to talk about hating a guy. I mean, the guy was like, oh, he turned down the trade deal to the Tigers and went to the Cubs. But okay, so that's the question. So where's Bregman's mindset of, do I feel like I can win a World Series with the Tigers or with the Red Sox? Or
Right
what,
now,
you know,
I think right now, if we're talking historically, if you were to ask somebody that question just based on common baseball knowledge, the answer is Boston. Currently, right now, within the next 4 to 5 years, I'd say Tigers. I think that right now, what's going on and with that club in Detroit, I think right now the Tigers are put in a better position than Boston is currently.
I
But
mean,
if you're going, I
and
mean,
they've
if
already
you're going
added
off
pieces.
history, I mean, the Red Sox are. When you think, I mean, listen, baseball is America's favorite pastime. When you think that, and you think teams that mean something, Red Sox are in the top 5 of teams that you think, okay, that's where you go.
Top three, really.
Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers,
Right.
or now it's Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, whatever you
Whatever
want
you
to
want,
call it.
but
I
point
mean,
is,
there's you know, uh, Dodgers offered Ty Cobb deferred money.
as this is also true.
But yeah, so I mean, look, the Tigers. I mean, the Gleyber Torres. Um, he wasn't the big splash, the Pete Alonso, the Juan Soto, whatever,
Mm,
and all that other stuff. But look, what you did is you got a consistent bat into the lineup, and you got some veteran, and you got a guy who can play defense and everything else, and he's probably going to end up being over there at second base. That's why they moved Cole Keefe over to first.
yeah.
That's why Spencer Torkelson is available at this point in time. And then what do you do? So now you're looking at it, and you say you could bring in Bregman to play third, and
Right.
then you platoon that shortstop position as much as you need to. Um,
In which we've seen with the Tigers last season, the depth is unbelievable.
right, young depth.
Young depth,
You know,
right?
Trey
With
Trey Sweeney
yeah,
does he emerge to be the guy that can be an everyday shortstop?
right,
You don't know. Maybe he is. I do think you added a piece in the bullpen, so that you get a little bit of help.
right.
AJ Hinch. I mean, the way that the game is going now, it's not about starter setup guy reliever anymore. It's about matchups, and like I'm gonna have, so you got your openers and things like that. I mean, we won playoff series and almost were able
Yeah,
to beat the Cleveland Indians with that same focus of
yeah,
bullpen games, right? Like
right.
we call them bullpen games because it was all about matchups. It's not the
Yeah,
way that it was anymore, where it was like, well, we've got to bring out our closer and this is our guy.
right,
No, like
right.
you do that. So now you just add pieces that you can do, and Hinch is doing that with the game now. And because of that, it allows the Tigers to be uh to be successful and to be competitive. You
Hmm.
got Parker Meadows, who
Yeah,
by
he's been playing. I mean, he
he's
came
a
out of
baseball
nowhere.
lover.
Yeah, of course.
Clutch hits. Kerry Carpenter, who's bat. I mean, he's
Garp.
Kerry Bonds. Come on. Um, Riley Green, please stay healthy.
And that's the thing too, is it Riley Green was supposed to be our next, that was our guy, right?
Yeah.
When we drafted Riley and when we brought him up, I mean, Riley was supposed to be our franchise guy. But he struggled with injury, man, and he's so young, and so that's also another question.
Yeah, he's so good. He's just so he just gets hurt.
Yeah,
Um,
and we know he's great. I mean, Riley is outstanding, but again, when you're that young and injuries are already affecting a lot, I mean, the conversation needs to be had essentially. But yeah, I mean, I think, listen, in baseball, it's kind of one of those things here where obviously you look at the Yankees and the Dodgers and they go out and sign all these superstars and all these big names and they try to put together super teams. Super teams in baseball don't work. It's not a thing, right? You
it's
can't
not like
you
basketball where you can put
correct.
you can put the five best guys out on
And
the
it's not like
court
football
and
where
they
you can get the
dominate.
three best receivers and what baseball it doesn't work that way, right?
Mhm.
But so with that being said, adding a guy like Bregman to a team who doesn't have a lot of guys, right? Who's got a young team that were just called up. I mean, look at the Tigers, right? If you're not a Tigers fan, name three starters right now. You can't. But adding a guy like Bregman to that roster can do wonders for a baseball team. Absolute wonders.
And he kind of fits the city though too,
He
right? Like I
does.
mean,
He
he's a
does.
scrappy guy. I mean,
Yeah.
he's kind of like a little Dustin Pedroia, right?
Yes.
Like that
Yes.
you
Yes.
love. He's kind of like a dirt ball, and it fits with Detroit, especially not just the city, but what this team is doing, right? It's
Absolutely.
it's it's and he's with the guy that he had success with as a
As
manager, and
AJ Hinch, yep.
I would love to see it. I think it makes sense. But again, where is Bregman's mindset?
And that's a tough question because it's like when you think about it. So okay, Boston's only offering him four, everybody else five. It's a year. It's 1 year.
But Toronto, I mean, Toronto by all, I mean, they talent, So does he think he can win a World Series with Toronto, but not with Detroit? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Problem I have with Toronto is you're in that division with the Yankees and the Red Sox, and the Rays are always a little pesky in there and everything else. So yeah, the Indians were sneaky, and they but we Tigers almost beat them in the playoffs. And
No, yeah.
outside of
Yeah.
that, the Twins, well, what are you going to get from the Twins? And the Royals are good, but I mean they
And
got
the
talent
White Sox
on
have
the
already been
team,
eliminated.
but in the White Sox, I mean, they're actually going to bring up their AAA club to play instead of the
The
White
White
Sox.
Sox are almost doing kind of like a big league, like the movie Big League. They're
Yeah,
like
but
they're like
yeah,
trying, but they're like not quite there.
yeah, it's bad. But I don't know. I think that would love to see Bregman with the Tigers,
Of
but
course,
yeah, I don't know. There's still the conversations that are going on out in San Diego as well.
right?
What is San Diego doing? You got Dylan Cease and you got Luis Arai.
Yep.
Um,
And San Diego, I feel like almost has their back against the wall, right? Because they're living in the Dodgers' shadow, and they've got to figure out how they are going to beat the Dodgers. And to me, this is a bigger situation than people think because we talked about this last episode. When you're talking about free agency signings and teams you want to go to, obviously the Dodgers are there, and so San Diego's biggest thing is they can't beat the Dodgers, right? So in this type of situation, it's bigger than people realize. The Dodgers are coming off a World Series. You
and
got
they've
to
only
think
gotten
smart
better.
here. And they've only gotten better and they've only signed more people.
Yeah,
They just signed Babe Ruth to a contract. So you
yeah,
got to
yeah.
if
He's
you're
gonna pitch and
and
DH.
correct and
So
and yeah.
whenever Otani is pitching, Babe Ruth is going to DH, and
Right.
whenever
He's
Babe Ruth is
also
pitching, Otani's going to DH. So
correct. He's also going to beat up umpires too while he's at it.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think this decision for San Diego is a lot more serious than people are realizing. You know, I think they really got to figure it out here
Yeah,
because
but here's the thing. So these guys. What are you going to do? So the reason why they're even talking about trading them is because they're going into the last year of their deals. So and they don't believe that they will be able to re-sign them or keep them or whatever.
right.
And you're not going to be able to do anything with them during the regular season unless you're completely out of the playoffs
Yeah.
and you're sellers at that point, which they don't want to be. They don't expect to be. So do you trade them now before that? But what are you going to get for them? Are you going to get guys that are better? Because I don't like, how do you get guys that are better than
Yeah.
them in a trade situation right now to stay competitive? Or
Hmm.
are you thinking I'm going to package these two and get one person? But
Right.
who are you going to get? Like, who is it? Like, are you going to trade for Mike Trout?
Well,
Mike
and
Trout
not
can't
only
hit.
that,
Like, I
not only
mean,
that, but Tatis, how long is Tatis going to sit there and, and
right.
and trust the process? It,
Machado,
that's what I'm
Machado's
saying.
not young anymore.
And that's the problem. So you got Manny Machado, you got Fernando Tatis. How long are they going to put up with this before they're like, listen, if I'm going to get, they're going to want to go.
Yeah. And the Blue Jays are in the mix for Jurickson Profar. So
The Blue
just
Jays
like
are
I
in the
said,
mix for everybody in a history of ever.
yeah, they're also in the mix for Shador Sanders, but we'll see what happens there. Um yeah,
Well, if it's anything like his daddy, this is might be more of a possibility than you think.
yeah, I tell you, I saw the thing that was that there was that, yeah, I forget what year it was, and I'm just kind of going off the top of my head just because I brought that up. But Deion Sanders led the league in punt returns
Mhm.
for the Atlanta Falcons. That same year, he went and went over to the Atlanta Braves and led the league in triples.
It's unbelievable. Just an absolute freak athlete.
Yeah, freak athlete.
So yeah, so that's where we're at off season wise in baseball here. There's a lot still to happen, right? We're about what 22, 23 days away from spring training. So things will get interesting here. But while we're also on the topic of baseball, before we sign off, one thing I wanted to ask you because we haven't talked about this off camera at all. But Mariano Rivera, a story has recently broken out last week that there's lawsuits against him, and there's rumors that have came out that his wife has been helping him cover up some sexual child abuse scandals. I don't know if you heard about this or not, but I mean, this is huge if this stuff comes out to be true.
Yeah, I mean, so back in back in 2009, so that Mariano Rivera and his wife, they founded a church, and they had a Christian summer camp, and apparently, it's being alleged that that a young girl there had received um, some abuse, and that when the Mariano Rivera and his wife met with the girl, that she was intimidated into remaining silent about it. Um, it's horrific to you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's disgusting.
Let's move aside from the part that, like, it's Mariano Rivera, right?
Hmm.
He's revered as, one of the class acts in the
Hmm.
game, and one of
Greatest closer of
the
all
best to
time.
ever
Yeah.
do it, and all this stuff, and everything else. You put all that aside, because none of that matters when it comes to this, right? Like that, all that goes away when when
Oh,
when when it
absolutely.
when it comes to something like this. I mean, we talk about, you know the other coaches and people in sports that were involved in these kinds of things. That, I mean, Joe Paterno was
Yep.
Joe Pa. He was Penn
Yeah.
State, and now he doesn't exist anymore.
Yep.
There's other coaches. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not at liberty to delve into it too much, but you can have a public persona all you want. None of that matters. Like, when it
Right.
comes to something like this, there's no excuse, and there's no, like,
No,
I don't care who you are, like, that you don't come back from it.
absolutely
And I don't
not.
know, the poor girl, it's just horrifying,
It is.
prayers to her, and so, remains to be seen. Unfortunately, it's preliminary, and it's coming out, and there's all these things, and you don't know, and you want to take a step back, and you want to sit there and say, okay, I don't know, because I don't want to drag, you know Mariano and his wife through the mud. They've done a lot of great things at
Hmm.
church or whatever. If this is something that's unfounded or whatever, then you don't want to, like,
Right.
immediately, throw the
Of
book at them,
course.
whatever.
Of
If
course.
it's not unfounded, then you do throw the book at them,
Yeah, absolutely.
everything else. But so I would like to see how it plays out, in what happens. But again, it just kind of, to come full circle, breathe. Like, I mean, the sports world doesn't shield from everything. I mean,
Hmm.
it's fun, it's entertainment. We talk about this, we talk who's doing this and who's doing that,
Yep.
and all these other things. It's kind of almost
It's
like an
tough.
escape from the real world.
Yeah,
But then this real, it brings the real world into it, and
it
it's
does.
something that you don't want to see.
And it's very frustrating too because listen, it happens all the time, especially with college students, right? That women come out and falsely say that they were, sexually harassed by an
The Duke
athlete.
case,
Exactly.
and
Right.
she admitted that,
And she came out and she was like, I made it all up. Right. And it happens and it does. Right. But so listen, everything's alleged right now. Nothing is set in stone. Nothing is proven. But if this does, like you said, if this does end up to be true, not only it is extremely frustrating, um and like you said, prayers to the girl and her family and whatever, but it's very very sad and frustrating to the baseball world because this is a guy that we have idolized and have given so much praise to, at least for the majority of my life. Ever since I was born, I've known Mariano Rivera, right? I've always
Mhm.
hated the Yankees, but I've always been able to respect, you know guys like Derek Jeter and things of that nature, right? Whether you hate her team or not, there's always that guy that, so it would suck in a sense as a sports fan, but the bigger picture is like you said, this is real life.
Mhm.
And when this news broke, it was very very like wow, you know. Because listen, you look at him, he's one of the greatest to ever do it, and he's been glorified in the baseball world. So if this comes out, I mean, and it is proven to be true, I mean, it's just it's like you said, it's horrifying, it's disgusting, it's sickening, and it would really suck on a lot of different levels, right? Outside of just sports. So everything's alleged. This story is still being discovered. It's still being looked into and investigated, but it's definitely a topic, and we'll see where it goes. You know,
Yeah, it's sad, and you don't know. Yeah, again, it just we'll see what happens. We'll see what comes out of it. At the end of the day, um, you know,
but yeah,
pray for the girl. But yeah, again, it's a sobering thing
yeah,
that you realize that hey, we're all having fun with sports, and we sit there and we talk about, like, oh, you know devastated about our teams losing and this, that, and the other thing, whatever, which really means nothing, right? Like,
right.
it
At the
means
end of the day,
nothing.
life goes on.
It means nothing, and especially when we know that stuff like this is going on in the world. And again, like I said, we'll see how it plays out, um, but
But
yeah,
yeah, man. I mean, listen, it like I said, ever since I've been born, and I was born in 2000, right? Like Mariano Rivera has been glorified in the world of baseball. So this would be crazy. Uh,
yeah.
you know. But let's try and end on a high note here.
Did you see the one coach, I forget what his name was, where they somebody spoofed a stat out there that said that that the SEC, since I forget whatever it was, January 4th,
Yeah.
or whatever it was, that the SEC is 54-54
Really?
in games played, um and so this coach comes out and he says, "Oh, see the SEC bias, and da, da, da,
Yeah.
they're only a 500 conference or whatever." But the spoof and the parody of it was that from that date it was the SEC schedule, to where
Really?
SEC teams were playing SEC teams, so of course they were going to be 54-54, because if SEC teams play an SEC team, one's going to win and one's going to
Right.
lose.
Yeah.
So
And in
so
fact, and there's also a clip going around too of Carl Anthony Towns was in the lids. Everybody knows lids, the store in the mall or
yeah.
whatever. They did a thing where they partnered with New Era, and they did a thing where they asked Carl Anthony Towns, like Big East or SEC, what's been the most dominant conference in college basketball for the better has the last 20 years, and quickly, like without question, Cat said the SEC. But then he really started thinking about it. And then he started arguing himself and almost just said the Big East. He essentially brought up his own argument and without even saying it said the Big East. So um, I thought that was really funny. So like on the topic of SEC and whatnot. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll say, look, the Big East isn't what they used to be. I mean, I
no.
grew up in the '80s, and that was Big East basketball,
Mm,
right? I mean, you had Villanova and Syracuse and Georgetown and St. John's, and that
yeah.
was that was
Yep.
ideal. Allen Iverson. I mean, it was. Now it has been the SEC, right? Like, it has been
Yeah.
in the Big Ten. Like, we talk about the Big Ten, it's always Purdue, but Purdue never does anything. Never
Right.
Wisconsin never makes a run. Then you got, like, with Michigan's up and then they're down, and
Yeah.
Michigan
And
State's always there and
because
they're always
Izzo gets
make a
him there,
run.
but Izzo,
But they, I mean, they haven't won a championship
yeah.
since 2000. So it's got to be I mean, then you got, Big 12. I mean, Kansas,
Yeah.
but it then falls off from. I mean, Iowa State's there,
Mhm.
Houston,
Then of
whatever.
course you got the ACC, North Carolina.
North
Even
Carolina
Roy
Duke.
Williams is gone now, but they're still relevant.
Yep. But I think from top to bottom, I mean, again, just like we talk about in football, you go top to bottom.
Yeah.
And what is it? Is it the SEC?
Yeah.
Because again, you talk about these other, like we talk about Kansas and Iowa State and those, but then there's the drop off, right? Then you talk about North Carolina, Duke, and then there's the drop off, right?
Right.
You talk about the Big Ten. You got Michigan State, Wisconsin, Iowa every once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
Purdue, but they're never really, But it's Tennessee now. It's
Yeah.
is there. You get the
Yeah.
Auburn, Alabama last year.
Yeah.
You got it's
And then
there's just
Florida, the
top to
Gators. I
bottom,
mean,
right?
the
Yeah,
Gators always, but yeah, I mean, so we got 2 months. March Madness coming up. That'll be fun. We'll do a bracket and we'll
we'll
do
do a
it live
bracket.
here on the podcast and we'll combine a bracket and that'll always be fun. But yeah, guys, I mean, we've covered a lot here. We went from pro to college to, all this and baseball and college basketball and all that stuff. So, um, hope you guys enjoyed. As always, make sure you follow us on everything. As long
Yep.
as TikTok is going strong, make sure you guys hit us up there. But if not, we're still going to be active on Instagram. Um, so make sure you guys go ahead and check us out. All the links will be in the bio here on this YouTube video. And we're gonna start working too on getting these episodes, the audio. We need to start getting the audio to these episodes on Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, that's all I got. Go
Oh yeah.
Bucks, national champs. Love it. Baseball's coming up. NFL's over. Who cares? Uh, Dad, any signing off things you got here?
No, just can't wait. 20 is it 24 days now
Yeah, something like
until
that.
spring training. Can't wait. And the one thing, when baseball season starts, you'll catch us out there. We're gonna
Yes.
take you with us to some games,
Yep.
and we're gonna have some fun with it. And
Absolutely. And
it'll
another
be
thing we like to do too, and before we started recording and getting all this going, is anytime we go to a ballpark, um, so for those of you who don't know, just real quickly, we're trying to hit every MLB stadium. So far, we've hit Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Cleveland, obviously Detroit, both Chicago's, Tampa Bay, and Miami. Am I missing one? I'm not missing one. That's all of them.
Milwaukee.
Oh, and Milwaukee, which sucked. But anyway, so there we go. We've hit 9. So we got a few more to go here, but we also like to check out the food situation, right? And see what's hitting, right? So,
We don't want to steal a bit, but hot dogs are the thing. Like,
oh,
like it's,
absolutely.
it's just a ballpark hot dog, and so
Oh, and Philly. I
you can.
forgot Philly. So we've been to 10.
I thought you said Pitt, but
Uh,
whatever. But so you gotta figure out what the hot dog situation is,
yeah.
and you rate what is the bun like? Do we have some crisp?
Yeah.
Is there a snap to the
Oh,
hot
there's so
dog?
many
You
factors.
get that a little bit. Is it the jumbo
Yes.
dog, or do you get, like, just a really, a typical
Yeah.
thing? So we got to figure all that out. So
So
it's
yeah, so again, make sure you follow us on the socials because when baseball's in full effect, we'll be doing almost like vlog type videos, food reviews, stuff like that. We're more than a podcast, so make sure you guys stay up to date with everything. And then before we sign off, real quick, what do we got? Bell Bell right there. Let's
yeah,
let's let's get
yeah.
Bell Bell. Let's get Bell Bell and get there. She is. There's the Bell Bell. She's got her sweater on. It's cold up there in Ohio.
It is. It's cold. It's cold. And then
Florida, we just got through our cold front. We're back into the 70s, so everybody can kind of relax. There's the Tobertons. The Tobertons. There's the Buddy Head right there. So, well, all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on everything. More to come. A lot more content. A lot more fun stuff coming up here. So,
all right.
we'll check you guys later. Football's over, so go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Eat 'em up, Tigers. Eat 'em up. Eat 'em up, Tigers. Eat 'em up.